Draymond Green trade. Is it happening? Is it not happening? The Warrior brass want Draymond here. Draymond said he wants to stay. But I see all the comments. A lot of people say, let's trade Draymond, get younger, get value out of it now. So this episode of Warriors Digest with Randy Silver, we're cooking up Draymond Green trades. Before we get into it, please subscribe. You don't want to miss a daily episode here. If you see only 8% of viewers are subscribed, we get over 2,000 views on videos daily. Please subscribe, support the channel. Draymond Green trade. Before we get into it, the parameters are this. 1, it's an East Coast team, Eastern Conference team. Draymond, Warriors have a great relationship. He's not going to want to play the Warriors 2 to 4 times a season, or at least 2 times a season, 2 to 4. Won't want to play them in the playoffs. Warriors won't want to do him good as well. So it'll become an East Coast team. If you guys think we should do West Coast teams, I'll make another video for West Coast, but preferably East Coast team. Second, Draymond has to be in every trade. I see comments in other videos like we did with Wiggins. Hey, we should trade this guy. We should trade that guy. It has to be Draymond Green in this scenario. It's a Draymond Green trade video. With that being said, let's get to the first trade. Draymond Green to the Nets. He would love to be in New York, media type of player, media person with his podcast on TNT. And we've done a video before about Nick Claxton. So if you do Draymond Green, Nick Claxton, Lonnie Walker. Again, if you look right here, they're both unrestricted free agents. So what does that mean? They both have to sign with the Nets and do a sign and trade to come over to the Warriors. Now, if they're free agents and they want to be with the Warriors, why would they sign with the Nets when they could just sign for us? Well, you got Draymond at power forward, Nick Claxton at center, Trayce Jackson-Davis at center power forward. So if you get Claxton, then you're going to have to probably move Trayce Jackson-Davis to the 4 so he can play if you want them to play together. Or Nick Claxton goes to the bench, TJD goes to the bench, back and forth. Looney may need to be in this trade somewhere as well. But to make it simple to open up a spot, you put Nick at the 5 because he's 6'11". Trayce Jackson-Davis is around 6'8". Put him at the 4, and Draymond goes to the Nets. Nets get a guy who has been a proven winner, kind of like what they had when they brought over KD, can help mentor some of the young players. We get a center rim protector that we need, and we get Lonnie Walker so we can get some shooting help coming off the bench. If you look here again, the cap impact, we lose $24 million. They gain $5 million. They have plenty of space. This helps us because then as we go in future years, we can sign more players. So maybe this doesn't actually realistically happen because if 2 unrestricted free agents have to sign trades to make it happen. Does it happen? Maybe not. But this was the best one I could see from the Nets. 2, the other New York team. New York Knicks. Draymond Green, Moses Moody for Julius Randle. We've heard some rumors of Randle may be on the move this offseason, especially with how well the Knicks did without him playing hurt. They did better, honestly, I think, with him in there. But hey, maybe they can get somebody. A very much similar player, like for like. They get an extra year on Green's contract. If Randle wasn't looking to re-sign with the Knicks, this could be a good opportunity. They also get Moody, who can help coming off the bench. We saw the Knicks, they had a bunch of injuries, but towards the end of the playoffs, they were very depleted. Didn't really have anybody coming off the bench they could trust too much beyond their first and second player off the chairs. So this could help them there. Yes, it would suck to lose Moody. However, it has to be this trade because based off the apron, Warriors have to be within $4 million of matching salary because we're over the apron. If you do this without Moody, it's $6 million. So you may say, Randy, why are you giving up Moody? In this case, you have to. We're not giving up Kuminga. So they're going to want somebody back who's quality. It'll probably have to be Moody. We're not going to give up Brandon, most likely, especially because he's on a young contract, just was first team all rookie. So it has to be here. The money works. Like player, this means Randle will slot into the 4. Then you have Trayce Jackson-Davis at the 5, Kuminga at the 3, Brandon at the 2, Steph at the 1. Maybe somebody else comes in and plays the 2 over Brandon. He comes back at point guard if you sign somebody. But this would work. If you're like, hey, Randy, I don't like that. What's another Knicks trade? Klay Thompson, Draymond for Julius Randle. You might say this is outlandish, but let's talk about this. Thompson's a free agent. If he wants to go play in New York, pretty cool. Comes back and can do a sign and trade. Yes, he could sign with New York outright. But again, maybe he wants to help out the Warriors, get them some draft picks back. You sign Klay Thompson, and then you sign him for, say, 2 to 4 years. More likely 3 to 4 at the Knicks. Maybe it's 2 years guaranteed, third year play option, 3 years guaranteed, fourth year play option. You get Draymond for 3 years, Klay for at least 2 to 3 years. We have Randall for 2, and then we get some second round picks back because we're giving them Klay, and they're getting they're getting Draymond. So we get a 25 second round picks and 27 second round pick. Not going to be the highest draft picks, especially because the Knicks will be in the playoffs, so we'll be 50, 60 range in the second round. Helps us kind of rebuild because we're losing Klay, and they're getting Klay for 3 or 4 years potentially. Maybe it's too many draft picks. Maybe it needs to be a first-round pick. Again, just showing how it works based off of money. And Klay would have to sign for around 10, 15 million for that. Okay, moving on. Cleveland Cavaliers. Straight-up trade, Jarrett Allen, Draymond Green. Basically a center, power forward, very similar. The money works right here because it's basically within $4.1 million, which is squared away. Allen did not play during the Cavaliers playoff run. Hurt. I've seen some comments saying he's soft. You wouldn't like him. You would take time away from Trey Jackson Davis. He's on a 2-year contract, $20 million. Draymond, 3 years, $24 million. So the cap hit to us is $4 million less each year, which helps us out, be able to sign other players well-rounded. Potentially Trace moves to the 4, Allen the 5. Probably not going to work, and you're not going to make Moody 3 and then Kuminga 4. In that scenario, you have a really small team. So you're going to probably have to get somebody to come in and play the 4, and then Trace Jackson Davis backs up Allen. Maybe you switch it, but if you're gonna trade for Allen for Draymond, you're gonna have him start. You don't trade for that type of trade to put him on the bench. And then Looney, maybe a third bench player for the center position, or they trade him and they get some assets back to help us out. If you needed to, and you wanted to throw in a second round pick, War's like, hey, we need a little bit more. Give us someone to help us out. You could get a second round pick. So you could do some pick swaps in there, but the straight for straight trade does work. Magic. Klay and Dre for Jonathan Isaac, a first round pick in 2027, a 2028 second round pick, and a 2030 second round pick. Again, this is just like with the Knicks trade. There have been rumors that Magic want Klay. They have plenty of cap space to sign them outright, so they don't need to do this. But say they want a power forward to come in there and help out Banchero. So then you got Klay potentially as your 6th man off the bench. Maybe he starts in spots, and you got Banchero. Maybe you move him to the 3 and Dre at the 4. And he's that athletic where he can play in that 3 position. You got Suggs, of course, at 2. And then you got Cole Anthony at 1. And at 5, you got the Wagner brother, one of them. So that's a very formal team. You get championship pedigree, championship defense at the Dre. Obviously the pedigree with Klay as well. Isaac barely played this year, and he's on the 1-year deal. So the question is to the Warriors, we're going to give up Dre for 3 years. Yes, you will get salary cap relief, but we need more back than just a 1-year player. That's why you see here for the salary cap impact, minus $52 million. We'll be able to sign a bunch of players after this year, this upcoming season, but then you also get a first round, second round back because you're doing the sign trade with Klay. If you do Draymond straight for Isaac, it's not going to work, again, because of the money going out. It's not going to work. I tried it. It failed. The first round pick maybe is a bit advantageous. Maybe it needs to be 3 second round picks or 4 second round picks, but you're going to have to throw some trade picks in there to work. And Dre and Klay stay together. Failed. This is what I mean. Miami Heat. We get Thomas Bryant and Nikola Jovic for Draymond Green. You can see why it failed. Heat are unable to complete this trade since they're over the apron. They can only take back 110% of the salary they're sending out. So if the salary here you see is basically $5 million, Draymond $24 million, they can't take that. So it's not going to work. That's why you see some of these draft picks have to get thrown in. Draymond, who would you trade for then in the Heat? They're not giving up Jimmy Butler, and a Jimmy Butler for Draymond trade. I mean, it could work, but I just don't see the Heat giving up Jimmy for Draymond. You're not trading Bam. They're probably not going to trade Hero. Again, it would be nice to have Hero shooting around. He could move to the 2. Brandon moves to the bench, and you got Kuminga at the 3, or they switch. That's very nice. So that's why you have to have some of these trades come in. So Heat are going to be a bit hard. Hawks. Murray and Capella for Thompson, Green, a first round and a second round. So Hawks are getting a haul. Why? One, Capella has 1 year left on his contract, but it's really around Murray. 4 years, $25 million. He really only goes up to around $30 million towards the end of that deal. So it's a very big steal in terms of the money that players are getting paid around his production. So you got to throw in the first and second round because of what Murray is providing to that team, what he means as the years go on. 2027, 2029 first and second round picks could really be low or high. We don't know where the team would be at that point. But you get Draymond for 3 years on the Hawks. It really helps them inside where they need help on the interior defense. Capella really hasn't performed, I think, the way that they hoped when they got him from Houston. Again, potentially with the Clay situation, sign and trade, get him over there. But because of the Murray deal of 4 years, you're going to have to give up our first and second round picks potentially to make that work. Another potential Hawk trade, if you wanted to do straight up, is Murray, Green, and just one first round. So Clay is not even a part of it. You can see here, the money-wise, it works pretty well. So there's some options there, but I don't think a Murray for Draymond straight up works. Kind of like Halliburton when he left the Kings to go to the Pacers, and Sabonis went back from the Pacers to the Kings. Maybe that does work because those are two different positions, and they both have a need. But I just don't see that working that way. Raptors, Chris Boucher and Kelly Olynyk for Draymond Green. Helps us get sets two sides. Kelly Olynyk can stretch the floor. As we know, he can make some threes, guard the perimeter a bit, rebounder, and then Boucher inside. You can look at the size, 6'9", 6'11". They both have 1 years left. You had to throw in two players because, again, the money to make it around $24 million. They get Draymond for 3 years. The reason why I don't think this works, Raptors are still in rebuilding mode. Draymond does help this team, but they're not going to be competing for a championship the next year or two. So do they want someone later in their prime who's not going to really be there when they're hitting their prime as a collective team? Probably not. So it would be nice to have Draymond. Obviously, he lost to the Warriors. We lost to the Raptors in the finals. But I just don't see this happening. But it does make sense in terms of like the player swap. Just in timing-wise, it doesn't work for the Raptors. And then lastly, for the Wizards, you got Kuminga. You got Kuzma. Lastly, for the Wizards, you got Kuzma coming over to the Warriors, and the Wizards are receiving Green in the second-round pick. Money-wise, they're very similar in contracts, so this works. They have Kuzma as a power forward. I think with the Warriors, he plays a 3. I mean, he could play a 4, but I say he probably goes to shooting guard, kind of like what he was with the Lakers. 3, you move Kuminga to 2. Brandon becomes your 6th man off the bench behind Steph. You don't re-sign Chris Paul. Trey Jackson-Davis is your 5, and you find someone to go in there and fill the 4 position. Now you really have size with Kuminga around 6'5", 6'6", Kuzma at 6'9", Trey Jackson-Davis, a smaller center. Maybe you can get a bigger power forward stretch, and now you really got some athleticism across the floor. Money-wise, it works, but again, team-wise, does it make sense? Wizards, one of the worst teams in the NBA. They're not competing. Why would they want Draymond? Like, it doesn't fit their schedule, their cycle of building a team. I don't think Draymond would want to go to the Wizards, honestly, either. So I don't really see this trade working, but in terms of like getting the trade, it makes sense. So those are the trade scenarios. Again, all East Coast teams. If we want to do something for West Coast, comment your thoughts, let me know. There could be some spicy trades in there, but I just don't see Draymond wanting to stay on the West Coast where he plays the Warriors at least 3-4 times a year, most likely, potentially in the playoffs. East Coast, where we saw Knicks realistic with Julius Randle. I think that's a good trade. Nick Claxton, if we can get some sign and trade deals going, throw in Clay somewhere, there's some possibilities. But just again, as a restate, these are just made up hypothetical. If the Warriors look to trade Draymond, he wanted to be traded, how would it work out? Comment your thoughts. Let me know. Subscribe to Warriors Digest for all your breaking news and rumor mill, everything in between daily.